Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Furiosa, number 2 would be the Garfield movie, number 3 would be If, number 4 would be Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and number 5 would be Sight. And goddamn you, Angel Studios. I was so close to getting all 5 of my predictions right. I only got 4. What a fucking tragedy. One of you got your predictions right, so here is your shout out right now. Congratulations. A lot of people, followed followed my guidance and tried to predict Sight to get in there. Lo and behold, it didn't. Man, Angel Studios really can't win after Sound of Freedom. Who'da thunk? Let's go over what happened in the overall top 10. Just a reminder, this is only covering the 3-day weekend. I know, some people will wait to cover the 4-day for Memorial Day, but I just do 3-day weekends on this series, and maybe I'll talk about stats for Memorial Day sometimes. I don't know. I did read some things saying like this is shaping up to be like one of the lowest earners for a Memorial Day weekend, which, I mean, looking at these numbers doesn't really surprise me. You had some movies here that in any other time probably would have made a lot of money back. So a lot of people have been very confused as far as like what's happened, like why aren't these movies making as much? And the same arguments are thrown around all the time, and it's like, is it even worth fucking going into it over and over and over again? I'm at the point where I'm just exhausted of like trying to like definitively it's this. Well, let me factor in this. Well, I guess you can't say definitively. It's a bunch of things. I saw fucking Jason Blum on Twitter. He did a whole thing going like, man, went to the movie theaters and it was so loud I had to go buy earplugs for my son. I asked the theater people to turn the volume down and they didn't. And maybe that's why people aren't going back to the theater. It's like, man, Jason, of course, some people were like gonna respond and like agree, right? Like some people were gonna be like, oh yeah, same thing here. It's like, I don't think that's the fucking problem. If I'm gonna be on, that sounds like a very specific problem that doesn't happen very often. As far as like issues with it, obviously as far as like certain cleanliness factors, yeah, it can be hit or miss with certain theaters you go to during the week or during the weekend especially. So as far as like theater issues like that, or bulbs need to be switched out, you can compare certain screens you go to, like, yeah, the picture's much brighter here, and then at this theater it doesn't look as good. I don't know if that specific instance of the movie was too loud. That, if anything, there are times where I'm like, I wish that it could be louder, but out of respect for some other people's hearing, I'm glad with where it's at. I prefer it usually fucking cranked. Sorry, that was a weird tangent. I haven't started the video. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I had to fucking vent about Jason Blum. Number 1 was Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, but it looks like it only squeaked ahead of Garfield just by a little bit. I was kind of looking at it like, well, Furiosa, I think, is going to be the clear winner here. And it's kind of not. If anything, when the whole 4-day weekend estimates come in, things could switch up, worldwide, especially when we cover that. I don't want to give too much away, but worldwide, if you look at that, Garfield technically had a larger opening, good thing we're looking at a domestic chart. Furiosa's on top, made $25 million this weekend. So this is on a budget of $168 million worldwide. It has gathered up $58 million in total. So not a specifically great opening. The thing about Fury Road, though, is that movie costs somewhere between $150 million to $185 million. So it did go on to gross around $380 million in the worldwide run. So it either did break even, or it just barely broke even, or it didn't at all, but it probably has since then. Either way, it's not like that movie is like this box office darling. It did pretty okay at the time. It got crushed by Pitch Perfect 2 on its opening weekend, but word of mouth did spread, and it was able to have like a pretty modest, pretty respectable earnings from its run. But it's not like Mad Max has ever been like this really huge franchise, you know what I mean? Like the other movies have made money, and especially since their releases, they have made money, and especially worldwide, because of the, Australian factor of it. But these movies have never been really, huge. I think a lot of people, and myself included, were kind of hoping that Furiosa would be like the turning point. Like, well, now, it's been a couple years since Fury Road, and ever since then, people have watched Fury Road, whether they were in the theaters or they watched it later, and, have talked it up and praised it so much. Maybe now is the time. And Furiosa was such a popular character, and you have Anya Taylor-Joy coming into the role, you got Chris Hemsworth here. Maybe this is the time where this one, breaks so many goddamn records, not just for Mad Max, but for movies or blockbusters, whatever. And it's not really shaping up to do that. Now, of course, anything can happen. Worldwide, the numbers could start booming. It could have a pretty great hold. Before June kicks in, we have one more weekend left in May, and there's a lot of like smaller movies coming out that honestly, I'm not even sure if they, will even crack the top 5, just because they are so either niche or just marketed so minimally, so it could have a shot of, holding over pretty well next weekend, and then maybe that word of mouth will track into June when we get more movies still. Either way, that it's, it doesn't look great, you know what I mean? It doesn't look great, and a lot of people are, chiming the death bell, and I know I say that a lot, and we don't need to, as I said earlier, we don't need to go into the, specifics of every single thing of why you should go see these movies, why you should go support film, but why some people might not be going to see movies. It's exhausting. Just go see fucking movies. Oh my god. There are certain things where it's like, I've complained about certain things about, going to the movies, but I still go to the movies. It's kind of like, I complain about them, sure, but it's like, it's kind of part of the experience for me at this point. It's just, you kind of take it as you go. Just go see movies. Sometimes you just gotta get over it and turn off your fucking phone. Stop recording the screen. That might be a different tangent. I'm sorry. As far as the Mad Max films go, the opening weekend was 20 million below Fury Road, but it is 18 million over Thunderdome, 23 million over Road Warrior, and 25 million over the original domestically. Obviously, that's because, those were 70s, 80s, so different times as far as the box office and the releases. Obviously, when I said it made 25 million over the original Mad Max for its opening weekend, that's because the opening for the original Mad Max wasn't very wide in the US just yet. It wasn't a big thing yet. And even when it did become a big thing, it wasn't like these huge blockbusters, right? As far as the domestic runs, it has outgrossed the original film by 17 million, and 2 million over the Road Warrior. It now needs 11 million until it outgrosses Thunderdome. So at the very least, it'll outgross the original trilogy. But as far as Fury Road, where it's kind of looking like, yeah, Fury Road kind of just barely, got by as far as breaking even. But now's the time where Furiosa can really shine and make its money back. It might not, you know what I mean? Like I said, if it doesn't have a great hold, or if it doesn't boom worldwide, it might just be stuck here. And the budget, if you believe that Fury Road cost 185 million as opposed to the 150, a 168 budget isn't too bad. So at that point, it would need 336 million to technically cross the doubling point and technically, as far as our standards, break even. But as we always discuss with these blockbusters, sometimes you need a lot more. There's certain costs that they aren't telling you. It's things going into the marketing campaigns and all that. So is this exhausting to you guys as much as it is for me? I was really hoping to come on here and be like, yeah, Mad Max Furiosa, really great movie. Go check it out. And that is my opinion. Go check it out. I did sincerely really love that film. But that's not what we're doing here. It's just, it's like I'm really reading a fucking, like a funeral speech. It would be great, though, if I could, like, come back to this next week and be like, wait, guys, I was wrong. We're not at a funeral. But I don't know. We don't know that yet. It's like when Puss in Boots came out and it was like, oh, well, actually, but we're not there yet. Anyways, as far as the worldwide Max runs, it has outgrossed Road Warrior by 35 million and Thunderdome by 22 million, and now needs 41 million until it outgrosses the original. So that caps it off. It's such a bummer that no one went to see 3,000 Years of Longing, a legitimately pretty good movie from him, so different. And then no one's also going to see the next installment of his franchise that he started and has stuck with ever since. Crazy. And when I say no one, more people have seen this than 3,000 Years of Longing, and more people will at the end of the day, but still, whatever. Number 2 is Garfield, which, even though it opened lower, it's technically still in a pretty good spot. Let's talk about how it barely, was under Furiosa. It is at 24 million right now, so that means when, like, even more official numbers come out for the 3-day and also for the 4-day memorial, it could potentially, it has the possibility of outgrossing Furiosa's opening weekend. And I would fucking hate, like, a clear, like, passion project movie like Furiosa from Miller to be topped by the bland, stale, studio-made Garfield movie. But that's where we're at. 24 million opening, so 3 million over the original film, the Bill Murray original film opening weekend, and 17 million over Tale of Two Kitties. Highest opening weekend for a Garfield theatrical release movie, yay. It did outgross the entire domestic run of Tale of Two Kitties by 4 million. Now it needs 51 million until it outgrosses the original. Worldwide, because there's even some articles coming out how, before it came out domestically, it was already kind of booming worldwide. It is sitting at 91 million right now, so it needs 56 million until it outgrosses Tale of Two Kitties for the Garfield movies, but it's on a pretty good path. The budget is 60 million, so it only needs about 29 million more, and then it has already doubled that budget, and because of how strongly it opened here, it could potentially triple it, maybe quadruple it if it has the legs. The word of mouth critically isn't very good, but, I'm sure families enjoyed it. When I saw it, it seemed like the little kids were enjoying it for whatever reason. So, yeah, there you go. Garfield, yay. That's also a bummer that we can't even celebrate a Garfield movie being out and doing well. I mean, at least one movie is doing well. I mean, there's other movies here. We'll talk about it. At least something is doing well, and people are going to the theater at the very least. But goddamn, oh my god, I don't have anything else to add to this. I feel like I'm gonna be a broken record, just moaning over how Furiosa didn't open as much as I wanted it to. Even if some people might have already predicted that it wasn't going to be this big hit, but still, someone can dream, right? Number 3 is If, making 16 million, adding to a domestic total of 58 million. Domestically, for John Krasinski's filmography, it needs 102 million until it outgrosses A Quiet Place 2. Worldwide, it is sitting at 98 million, so it needs 198 million until it outgrosses A Quiet Place 2. It is getting closer to crossing over the initial production budget of 110 million for this film, but obviously it doesn't put it in the best position as far as doubling it, so it would need 220 million. And it seems like despite it holding over okay, like nothing overtook it, it's firmly behind the new releases, but still it's kind of like I don't think we're gonna see a big boom out of this. John Krasinski has been posting on his Instagram all the kids and families that went to see it and enjoyed it, and praising it. He loves it. He loves that there's magic to be found, and that's good that some people are seeing. If it encourages more people to go to the theater, sure. That's the thing, is that I wasn't too big on If, like how I'm not big on Garfield, but really any movie, if it does well, that could be good for the business, just as far as like, okay, yeah, audiences do want to see movies. That's kind of where we're at this point. And at the very least, If, despite my issues with it, it is an original film that has more than like $20 million to its name. It's over 100 million budget, an original film, and it's still not doing well, even though John Krasinski's kind of big, kind of made a name for himself, not just doing Jim, but doing those A Quiet Place movies, doing Jack Ryan, and fucking all these names in the cast. Nothing. Number 4 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, still in a better position than a lot of these other movies, making 13 million, adding to a domestic total of 122 million. Still needs 24 million until it outgrosses War for the Planet of the Apes. Worldwide, it is sitting at 294 million, so it needs 68 million until it outgrosses the Planet of the Apes Burton movie. So no, progression yet as far as the other films in the franchise that it needs to outgross, but we are inching closer. So we need 26 million more until it officially doubles its 160 million initial production budget for its third weekend out. That is pretty good, still going strong. I do wonder, I don't think at this point it will have the legs, unfortunately, to like triple that budget, but if we can at least double it and make a little bit more, that, we could have something here, get some more word of mouth built off of this installment, and then we can get more in this continuity down the line. I don't know. I feel like I should be celebrating this one too. Like, oh, it's about to hit 300 million worldwide and it's its third weekend of release. That's great. But like, when's the news going to drop that it's going to be on Disney Plus soon? You know what I mean? That's the thing also. Maybe people are waiting for Furiosa to hit fucking Max because they know. Sorry, I hate to keep going back to Furiosa and how bummed I am, but goddamn, maybe it's the same with If, people see like the Paramount logo and they're like, oh, well, obviously that means it'll be on Paramount Plus soon. This kind of looks like a Paramount Plus streaming movie. whatever. Sony Pictures, who do Garfield, they have that partnership with Netflix, but it's not like they have that app that specifically tells people like, oh, this is where I go. They have a partnership with Netflix, but it's not like, Netflix has the Sony logo like right on it, I don't know. What am I doing? Let's move on to number 5, which is The Fall Guy. Now on digital, you can just watch it at home, making $5.9 million, adding to a domestic total of $72 million. For David Leitch, it is $31 million behind Bullet Train. Worldwide, it is sitting at $143 million, which is $95 million behind Bullet Train. I feel like if I start talking about how it is so far away from still doubling its $125 million initial production budget, I'm just going to be saying the same shit over and over. This is like the broken record episode, isn't it? This is like the sad, depressing funeral speech episode, I'm realizing. I'm so sorry. Going on tangents, not coming to any conclusions, sadly giving stats out. What a time. Number 6 is The Strangers Chapter 1, which didn't hold over as great as maybe some people might have thought it would, but for that $8.5 million budget, it's doing good. Made $5.6 million this weekend, which now adds to a domestic total of $21 million. So they have officially doubled that 8.5 initial production budget, and now they need 25.5 to triple that. So they're not too far off from that. Worldwide, there is a worldwide total, but it's only like 1 million more, so 22 million. So, not too bad. Well, I mean, it's not great as far as like an increase, but I mean, they're already in a good spot because they're low budget anyways. So for the Strangers franchise, it needs 3 million until it outgrosses Prey at Night domestically. So we will be seeing that happening soon, obviously, when they also triple this budget. It's gonna probably still be here next weekend, so we'll cover it, and that'll be great because that was a movie everyone loved. Number 7 is Sight, the one that I thought would get into the top 5. Come on, Angel Studios, you're letting me down. Making $2.6 million. The budget, not sure what it is. Let's look on some stats. This isn't for Angel Studios. This is for the director, which I was fascinated to find out one thing about this. So the opening weekend, it is $3 million below Paul, Apostle of Christ, a movie he made, and $2 million below, wait for it, drum roll, please, The Blind. Yeah, that fucking movie that came out last year about the... who was it? One of the Duck Dynasty guys, whose name I'm blanking on. Isn't that wild? He made a movie for Angel Studios. Who'd have fucking thunk it? As far as the domestic runs, it needs 15 million until it outgrosses The Blind and Paul, Apostle of Christ. Both of those movies ended their domestic runs at 17 million. So I don't think Sight's going to get there. As far as Angel Studios, it needs 9 million until it outgrosses After Death, that documentary they released last year. This will also not be one of the higher earning ones that they get. Like I said, Sound of Freedom really fucking made them peak so early. Got all these plans and ambitions for more from their slate, and then it's just like, oop, not as popular. Oop, not as successful. Oop, no one gives a shit. Number 8 is Challengers, making $1.3 million, adding to a domestic total of $46 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at $81 million, $29 million away from actually doubling its initial production budget of $55 million. And maybe it would have gotten there if they didn't fucking put it on digital right away. Oops, I'm talking about that again. God damn it. It's so frustrating. You like, people realize, they have to realize, right, that, they've conditioned their audience to just wait. They see movies coming out like, oh, that looks pretty good, but in this day and age, I can just wait. You got it, like, abrupt stop to that. No more like, well, we'll do it in like this quarter of the, just abrupt stop. Keep movies in the theaters. Pull them from the digital libraries. Pull their rentals already. Oh God, this is a nightmare. Number 9 is Babes, a new comedy from Alana Glazer. Pretty funny movie. Fun experience. I mean, not really the whole experience, just at the very end, after enjoying this film, it was me and one other person in the audience. I got up to leave. Lady behind me was just like out loud directly to me, like, that was a pretty good old movie. And I was like, yeah, I like that a lot. And then I left. That was pretty sweet though. Just two people not sitting with each other at all. But we are, you know what I mean? Like, we're not sitting together, but we kind of were. Watching the same movie, enjoying the same movie. Great time. Check it out if you can. Made $1.06 million this weekend. Not sure what the budget of this thing is. I wouldn't anticipate it being a very expensive movie, but at the same time, $1.06 million, doesn't look great. You know what I mean? So Eh. Check it out if you can, please. It was pretty good. And number 10, closing out the video, Back to Black, making 1.05 million, adding to a domestic total of 4 million. Domestically, it is 162 million behind 50 Shades of Grey, Sam Taylor Johnson's previous films, or one of her previous films. Worldwide, it is sitting at 30 million, which turns out, apparently, is the initial production budget of this, so they can't double it. But they crossed over the initial point. Congrats. That places it 540 million behind 50 Shades of Grey. This movie's fucking terrible. Don't see it. But hey, Aaron Taylor Johnson posted on his Instagram, man, these actors, the two lead, they have some of the best chemistry I've seen in years. Number one, he's biased. He has to say that because that's his wife, right? Number two, as someone who has seen the movie without a bias, you're fucking wrong, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Get out of here, bro. Bad movie. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Because, like I said earlier, there's In a Violent Nature, Summer Camp. You probably don't even know what some of these movies are. Ezra, the Western with Viggo Mortensen and Vicky Krieps, the name of which I'm forgetting. The Dead Don't Hurt, Won't Hurt, something like that. I don't know if any of these will actually crack it, you know what I mean? Like, and to be fair, especially like for the number 5 spot, The Fall Guy made 5.9 million this weekend, but like a dip off from that, like maybe 2.5 million at the most. Is that enough for some of these movies? I don't even know how many people really know of these movies, you know, because the marketing is very minimal for a lot of these. There's not a very clear winner. So I'm just gonna go my predictions. Number 1, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga once again. Number 2, the Garfield movie. Number 3, If. Number 4, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And number 5, The Fall Guy. The same top 5. I'm going to hope that because of a lack of a new big movie, that people will, you know, word of mouth will spread about at least the good ones here, Furiosa, Apes, and you know, people will go support them, boost the numbers up, and maybe we can celebrate a little bit more next weekend. Or I'll just fucking cry. Anyways, what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.